Penguin Random House Audio presents The Volunteer by Salvatore Scibona. Read for you by Edoardo Ballerini. To Jennifer Sprague and Philip Lecuyer. I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody, too? Emily Dickinson. Hamburg, 2010. The boy wore a black parka, a matching ski cap, blue jeans, and sneakers. He appeared to be 5 years old, and he was weeping. He stood at gate C3, Hamburg Fuhlsbüttel Airport, his padded arms limp at his sides. He was talking through his sobs, not shouting or pleading, just talking to one attendant after another. But no one could figure out what language he was using. It seemed somehow Polish, the hodgepodge dialect of a town that 10 different empires had captured on their way to someplace else. An Air Baltic flight had disgorged its passengers at a nearby gate less than an hour before. The flight having come from Riga, it may have been Latvian the boy was speaking. But by the time he materialized in front of the counter at C3, the plane from Riga had pulled away from the terminal, and no Air Baltic employees remained at the gate or anywhere else in the concourse. He looked up at the agents behind the counter, stating his case incomprehensibly, while 200 travelers watched, mesmerized, waiting for Lufthansa 531 to Amsterdam. It might have been Lithuanian. Soon the boy was barely forming words at all. He only pointed in the direction of gates C1 and C2. But the custodian, for whom 6 Lufthansa employees and passengers began to search the smoking cabins and bathrooms, and to whom the airport intercom called out in German, could be found nowhere at the lower end of the concourse. Je m'appelle Laurence. Comment t'appelles-tu? Ich heiße Elisabeth. Wie heißt du? But no one could get him to divulge anything that sounded like a name. And some of the adults around him began to think that their solicitousness only aggravated his distress. Each question elicited less of a response. A nurse from Kazakhstan knelt at the boy's side, petting his hair, but he persisted in weeping. The boy's coat fit him poorly. The cuffs fell short of his wrists. Bits of batting poked out of several tears in its shell, which somebody had tried to mend with electrical tape. A Lufthansa clerk, whose age, about 60, and whose vast highlighted hairdo seemed to put her in charge, tried using English, Russian, and Dutch to extract a name. Yet to the Kazakh nurse it seemed the boy knew they were asking for his name, and in the nightmare of his present, his withholding the name was the only thing that tied him to the lip of the chasm into which he had slipped. He aimed a curving finger toward the labyrinth of the rest of the airport, as though in search of a misstep. He let the nurse hold his snotty hand. He led her and the clerk down the teeming corridor. A young American who said he was an EMT asked, "Would the boy like to breathe into this bag? ¿Quieres hablar conmigo, hermano?" The clerk said emphatically, "No, he is Estlander." But she was only guessing. The intercom repeated in English, "Terminal 1, a child in lost and found," while the boy hustled along, incongruous, a body automatized with purpose, as though if you got close enough you would hear him ticking. And yet under his crooked hat his face was anarchic with spasmodic blinks and sniffles. The chest heaved in the little coat. The nurse tried to unzip it. She thought the boy must feel terribly hot, but he twisted away when she touched him. It was incredible that the head could hold so much liquid. He had been crying for so long now without a drink. The nurse and the clerk led him into the ladies' room to get him some paper towels. After they came out, he wouldn't let either of the women hold his hand. He snatched it back when they tried to take it, and pointed this way, that way, until they began to see he was not retracing his steps after all. He was groping in a maze for a parent, and he didn't want either of these strange women to help him, but he hoped they would stick around. By the snack bar, a woman from Holland sat on her bag on the floor. Other travelers occupied all the chairs, and watched as the boy led the other women crisscrossing through the corridor. She wore a blue polyester overcoat, a silk blouse, running shoes. She was trapped, like the others, following the boy everywhere with his eyes wide, devout. But unlike the others, she gripped the thing on which she sat as though willing her body not to get up. Watching. Watching. Her hair was shaved on one side. The rest was white. Elroy Heflin's skeleton had gained its final inch only as he was getting out of the prison in Los Lunas when he was 21. Then followed 2 years of raking hot asphalt in Kansas, Nebraska, Maine, stocking breakfast cereals in grocery stores, slinging heroin, crank, using, shelters or street sleeping, raw wind, the wet kind that goes through you like devil thought, dropping the junk cold, no methadone, no program, multiple antibiotic-resistant infections to contusions in the scalp, teetering through snow toward a shelter in a church, where in the dark entrance a stout figure raised its hands in seeming benediction, and to Elroy's liquor-twisted mind took the shape of his father. Hope even supplied the old man's face, until the figure resolved into a pink-faced rent-a-cop who snapped, "Keep out till you're sober," and shoved him backward toward the dark. Then Elroy's fist, swinging right for the face, a crack to the bastard's eye, a crack to the nose, blood on the ice like a taunt that made him kick the piggish body after it fell, making it screech and plead, shouting at it, "I'll come in if I want to, nobody's keeping me out," followed by his second, longer prison bit, before he joined the army, got a steady place to sleep, and his shit finally started coming together for real. Soon thereafter, he was assigned to an Office of Defense Cooperation attached to the U.S. Embassy in Riga, Latvia, as the country prepared to join NATO. Those were great days. All the men billeted in a 3-star hotel, an 18th-century palace recently renovated with Swedish capital that the Red Army had used for 50 years as a barracks. His CO ate smoked trout on dense rye bread in the hotel dining room. "I want to give you some perspective," he said. "Where do you come from, Heflin?" "Sir, New Mexico," Elroy said. "Sit down." "Where, Albuquerque?" "Sir, Las Cruces, a place called Rama, another place without any name west of Vado in Dona Ana County." The table was set for a meal such as people ate who never had to wash the dishes. 7 silver utensils, 5 pieces of china, a linen napkin, 4 glasses of different shapes, arrayed, gleaming, empty, with a blue tinge. The CO poured himself coffee. "Imagine a Russian base in downtown Albuquerque. Farm boys in Soviet uniforms are eating lunch at Lottaburger. You're one of them. Your side won the Cold War without firing a shot. How do you feel?" "Cock of the walk, sir." "And rightly so. But you better not act like it." The local girls were going to dress slutty, the CO explained. Elroy shouldn't let the other junior enlisted men get the wrong idea. His age meant the younger privates were likely to follow his lead. To the men, the outfits would mean, "Come take me for a spin." To the girls, they meant, "This is how a real European dresses, right? So hands off." The men were only stationed here for 8 months. The Latvian girls wanted to get married, just like anybody. That sounded all right to Elroy. He reckoned he had become the marrying kind, and within a couple of months he had a steady girlfriend on the sly. The look, the counter-look, the approach all came so easily, not like at home. He was drinking with some of the men in the old city, at a cafe on a cobblestone street just wide enough for a fat horse. And the waitress brought them some strawberries and dinner rolls they hadn't ordered. She wanted to practice her English. In bed, she asked him, "How come you like my ear so much?" It tasted funny. She didn't expend much effort in washing it. He had a little bit of the USSR right here in his mouth. It tasted of sweat, sebum, and lemon flower perfume. 20 years ago," he said, "they would have sent me here to rape you and burn down your house." "Silly," she said, turning the pages of a travel magazine. "We didn't have a house." He woke in her one-room apartment to find her polishing his shoes with her spit and an old sock. More than once she offered to do his laundry. "No thanks," he said. He shied from a woman touching his dirty underclothes, smelling his funks and dribbles. Dank wind, then sleet. A Sunday. He bought 2 umbrellas for them. They walked through the Art Nouveau district, and she pointed to the tortured stone faces in the cornice of the law school. They happened upon Mass in a Catholic church, and for a nasty joke.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?